The Galactic Alliance Council chamber fell silent as Admiral Ta stood before the holographic display. 12 species watched the image of the massive vessel that had appeared at the edge of their territory. The ship was unlike anything they had seen before, sleek, dark, and impossibly large. The vessel identifies itself as the UES Indomitable, Tai explained, keeping his voice calm despite the worry he felt. Our measurements confirm it is 4 times larger than our biggest battleship. Counselor June leaned forward in her seat. Her silvery skin caught the blue light of the display, making her face glow. Have they shown any signs of attack? No, Counselor. They stay in the same position and answer when we contact them. They say they are humans from a part of space we don't know about. The word humans sent a wave of whispers through the chamber. Most believed humans were just stories, myths told by traders who claimed to have traveled too far into unknown space. I've heard tales, said Counselor Pack, his voice rough with age. Beings who look like us, but come from a world of endless water. They were said to have strange powers. Fairy tales, dismissed Security Chief Min. But this ship is very real and very concerning. Admiral Ta nodded. We've invited them to meet with us, but our scans show weapons on their ship that we've never seen before, technology we don't understand. The council leader Hyun stood up. She was small in size, but her presence commanded attention. We must be careful. Send our diplomats, but have our fleet ready. If these humans have hostile intentions, we must be prepared. As the meeting ended and the council members left the chamber, none of them noticed something important happening outside. Small scout ships had quietly launched from the human vessel. They moved silently through space, mapping Alliance territory and gathering information. Aboard the UES Indomitable, Captain Eon studied the data coming in from her scout ships. The Alliance worlds were more numerous than they had expected. Their technology seemed advanced in some ways, but strangely behind in others. What do you think, Commander Han? She asked her second-in-command. Commander Han looked thoughtful. They seem organized and cautious. Their ships have good defenses, but limited attack capabilities. I think they've been at peace for a long time. Captain Yun nodded. Peace is good. We didn't come looking for enemies. But we didn't expect to find the Alliance either, Han pointed out. Our maps showed this area as mostly empty space with a few scattered civilizations. Plans change, Yun said firmly. We adapt. That's what humans do. She turned her attention to the main view screen, which showed an Alliance diplomatic vessel approaching. It was small and elegant, with lights that pulsed in what seemed to be a greeting pattern. They're hailing us again, reported Communications Officer Song. Accept the call, Eon ordered. The screen changed to show an alien face. The being had features similar to a human, but with silver blue skin and large eyes that reflected light like mirrors. I am Ambassador Do of the Galactic Alliance, the alien said. We welcome you to our space and request permission to come aboard your vessel for diplomatic discussions. Captain Yun smiled. I am Captain Yun of the United Earth Ship Indomitable. We grant your request and look forward to meeting your delegation. After the call ended, Security Chief Kim approached the captain. Are we sure about this? Letting them aboard. We came for contact, not isolation, Yun replied. Besides, I want to see these aliens up close, and if they're gathering intelligence for an attack. Yun's smile faded. Then they'll learn what humans are capable of when threatened. But let's not assume the worst yet. Meanwhile, back on the Alliance capital world, Admiral Ta met secretly with Council Leader Hyun. The scout ships? Hyun asked quietly. Ta nodded. We detected them as soon as they launched. They're small and fast, but our long-range sensors can track them. So these humans are already exploring our territory while pretending to be friendly, Hyun said, her voice hard. What else are they hiding? I don't know, Tai admitted. But I've ordered our deep space stations to send all information they have about human legends. If there's any truth to the old stories, we need to know it now. As both sides prepared for their first official meeting, Neither fully trusted the other. The humans had their own mission, finding lost colonies and exploring new space. The Alliance had its own fears, protecting its worlds from a potentially dangerous new power. The stage was set for a historic encounter that would change the galaxy forever. Ambassador Do felt small as he stepped onto the human vessel. The docking bay alone was bigger than his diplomatic ship. 4 other Alliance representatives followed him, each from a different species. They tried to hide their amazement, but their wide eyes gave them away. A human woman in a dark uniform greeted them. "Welcome to the UES Indomitable. I am Captain Yun. We are honored by your visit." Do noticed the captain was shorter than he expected, but she stood with confidence. Her eyes were alert, studying each visitor carefully. "The honor is ours," Do replied, performing the traditional Alliance greeting gesture. "We are eager to learn about our new neighbors." Captain Yun led them through corridors filled with crew members who stopped and stared at the aliens. The ship seemed to go on forever. They passed rooms full of strange equipment and saw screens showing star maps Do didn't recognize. "How many humans serve on this vessel?" asked Science Officer Wu, trying to count the different faces they passed. "We have 50,000 crew members," Captain Yun answered casually. The aliens exchanged shocked looks. Their largest ships held no more than 2,000. They entered a large meeting room where other human officers waited. Captain Yun introduced them one by one. First Officer Kang, Security Chief Minho, Science Director Suk, and Communications Expert Jun. "Your ship is impressive," Do said as they sat down. "We've never seen technology like this." Captain Yun smiled. "The Indomitable is actually 17 years old, not our newest model." "What brings humans to our part of space?" asked Defense Attaché Rim, the most cautious of the Alliance representatives. "2 purposes," Captain Yun explained. "First, diplomatic contact with new civilizations. Second, we're searching for lost human colonies." "Lost colonies," Do repeated with surprise. "In Alliance space?" "Possibly," said Science Director Suk. "Hundreds of years ago, during our early expansion, we sent colony ships in many directions. Some lost contact with Earth. We've been searching for them ever since." "How many human worlds exist?" asked Wu, leaning forward with interest. The humans exchanged glances before Captain Yun answered. "We have 27 established worlds and 15 developing colonies across 12 star systems." The room went silent. The Alliance had only expanded to 8 star systems in their 1,000-year history. "That's unexpected," Do finally said. "How have we never encountered humans before?" "Space is vast," First Officer Kang said simply, "and we came from a different direction than your expansion path." The meeting continued for hours. The humans asked questions about Alliance species and government. The Alliance representatives asked about human society and history. Cultural misunderstandings soon emerged. When offered food, Defense Attaché Rim refused, unaware that among humans, sharing a meal was an important trust gesture. The humans seemed confused by the Alliance's complicated greeting protocols and speaking hierarchies. "In human culture," explained communications expert Jun after an awkward moment, "we believe in direct speech. Everyone may speak freely regardless of rank." "Interesting," said Do, though he found the concept uncomfortable. "In the Alliance, we show respect through proper speech order." Later, Captain Yun gave them a tour of the ship. They saw the main bridge, where officers controlled the massive vessel. They visited engineering sections where strange energy cores glowed with blue light. Most impressive was the central garden, where plants from Earth grew in carefully maintained environments. "This helps the crew feel connected to home," Captain Yun explained as the aliens touched the strange leaves and flowers. As the tour ended, they entered what the humans call the observation deck, a room with huge windows showing the stars outside. Captain Yun was explaining human navigation methods when an urgent message interrupted them. A young Alliance officer rushed in, his face showing fear. Ambassador Doe, emergency communication from Alliance Command. Doe took the communication device. As he listened, his silver skin paled to almost white. "What's wrong?" Captain Yun asked, noticing the change. "Colony Starpoint is under attack," Doe said, his voice shaking. "The Scourge have returned. Our defenses are failing." "The Scourge?" asked Security Chief Minho. "Hostile species from beyond our borders," Doe explained quickly. "They've attacked us for decades, never with warning, never with mercy." Captain Yun's expression changed. The diplomatic smile disappeared, replaced by something harder. She turned to First Officer Kang. "Prepare the ship for immediate departure. Combat readiness." Doe looked surprised. "You're leaving?" "No," Captain Yun said firmly. "We're offering help. How quickly can we reach this colony?" Colony Starpoint burned. The Scourge ships swarmed around the planet like angry insects. Black smoke rose from the main settlement where fires raged out of control. In orbit, broken Alliance ships drifted lifelessly. Those still fighting were badly damaged. Commander Sun's hands shook as he sent another desperate message to Alliance headquarters. The communication system kept breaking up, damaged by Scourge attacks. "We're losing the orbital platform," he shouted into the transmitter. Static crackled between his words. "Civilian evacuation is only at 40%. We need immediate help." On the main screen, he could see more Scourge ships landing near the colony's power plant. The insect-like creatures moved with single-minded purpose. They never spoke, never negotiated. They only destroyed. In the Alliance Command Center, General Yuri stared at the tactical display. Red dots representing Scourge ships outnumbered the blue Alliance ships 5-1. Reports from the battle were grim. 3 Alliance cruisers destroyed. The defensive line broken in multiple places. "Can we send reinforcements?" he asked his staff officers. Colonel B shook her head. "The nearest battle group is 2 days away. Starpoint will fall before they arrive." General Yuri closed his eyes briefly. Another colony lost. Thousands of lives about to end. The Scourge had been attacking Alliance worlds for decades, and each time, the Alliance could only fight defensive battles, trying to save as many people as possible. Then something unexpected happened. A communication officer looked up in surprise. "General, unknown ship approaching Starpoint at high speed. It's huge." The main screen changed to show a massive vessel entering the battle zone. General Yuri recognized it immediately from the reports. The human ship. "Alliance Command, this is Captain Yun of the UES Indomitable," a calm voice said over the comm system. "We're entering your space and offering assistance. Please provide targeting coordinates." Before General Yuri could respond, the human battleship accelerated toward Starpoint. It moved much faster than a ship that size should be able to move. Within minutes, it took position above the colony. "What are they doing?" Colonel D asked. "They're putting themselves between the colony and the main Scourge fleet. It's suicide." Then the human ship opened fire. What happened next would be told and retold throughout Alliance space for generations. The Indomitable released weapons unlike anything the Alliance had ever seen. Small black spheres shot toward clusters of Scourge ships. When they detonated, they didn't explode with fire or energy. Instead, they created swirling vortexes that pulled the enemy ships inward, crushing them. "Gravitational weapons," whispered a science officer. "They're creating controlled singularities." From the sides of the human ship, bright blue beams lanced out. They passed through Scourge shields as if they weren't there. Ships that were hit simply fell apart, their systems completely shut down. Most impressive were the human fighter craft. Hundreds launched from the Indomitable, moving in perfect formation. Unlike Alliance pilots who flew defensively, these pilots attacked aggressively, diving straight at Scourge ships, firing at the last possible moment, then spinning away. On Colony Starpoint, the settlers watched in awe. The sky that had been filled with enemy ships was clearing. The constant sound of explosions and weapons fire quieted. Commander Sun couldn't believe what he was seeing on his monitors. The Scourge are retreating. They never retreat. On the human ship, Captain Eun stood calmly on the bridge, giving orders as her crew worked with practiced efficiency. Target their command ships, she told her weapons officer. Disrupt their communication network. First Officer Kang looked up from his station. Captain, the Scourge are breaking formation. Their smaller ships are withdrawing. Press the advantage, Captain Eun ordered. Don't give them time to regroup. Within 3 hours, it was over. For the first time in the decades-long war with the Scourge, the insectoid creatures had been driven back. The remaining Alliance ships cautiously resumed their positions around Starpoint. The fires on the ground were being contained. The evacuation ships returned to collect the colonists. Later that day, General Yuri came aboard the Indomitable. Captain Eun met him in a small meeting room. The human looked tired but satisfied. How? General Yuri asked simply. We fought them for decades without success. You defeated them in hours. Captain Eun considered her answer carefully. You fought defensively, she replied. Your ships are built to protect, to survive. That's admirable. But humans learned long ago that sometimes the best defense is overwhelming offense. Your weapons, General Yuri began, are the result of our own difficult history, Captain Eun said. Humans nearly destroyed themselves twice before we united. Our weapons technology advanced quickly because we had to fight enemies much like the Scourge. General Yuri looked at her with new understanding. You've faced threats like this before. Captain Eun nodded. Different enemy, same lesson. When facing an opponent that won't communicate or negotiate, you must show them that the cost of continuing is too high. The Alliance will want to know more about your weapons, General Yuri said. And we will want to know more about the Scourge, Captain Eun replied. This was not a final victory. They will return, and next time, they'll be ready for our tactics. As General Yuri prepared to leave, he asked one more question. Why did you help us? You barely know the Alliance. Captain Eun smiled slightly. Humans help humans, and all beings who value peace and life. She paused. Also, we believe in making a good first impression. The Alliance Council chamber had never been so loud. Councilors shouted over each other as Leader Hyun struggled to maintain order. The emergency session had been called to discuss the human intervention at Colony Starpoint, but it had quickly turned into chaos. They're a threat worse than the Scourge, shouted Councilor Bin, pounding his fist on the table. His species was known for their caution and suspicion. You've seen their capabilities. Their weapons are beyond our understanding. If they decide we're enemies, if they wanted us destroyed, they could have let the Scourge finish us, countered Admiral Tai, his voice steady despite the tension. Captain Eun risked her ship to save our colony. 300,000 lives were saved. The room divided clearly between those who nodded with Admiral Tai and those who sided with Councilor Bin. The Alliance had split into two factions almost overnight. One group saw the humans as saviors who had done what the Alliance couldn't do for decades, defeat the Scourge in battle. The other group saw dangerous newcomers with terrifying weapons and unknown motives. We should form a military alliance with them immediately, suggested General Yuri, who had witnessed the battle firsthand. With human weapons and alliance numbers, we could finally end the Scourge threat, or invite a worse threat into our homes. Councilor Bin shot back. What do we really know about these humans? They claim to be searching for lost colonies. What if they decide our worlds belong to them? Meanwhile, aboard the UES Indomitable, Captain Eun was hosting a private dinner for Ambassador Do. The dining room was small and simple, not the grand hall Do had expected. Captain Eun had explained that she preferred intimate settings for important conversations. Your council seems divided on how to proceed, Captain Eun said as they ate food prepared by the ship's chef, a mix of human and alliance dishes. Do sighed. Some fear you. After seeing your battle capabilities, they wonder if you might someday turn those weapons on us. I understand their concern, Captain Yun replied. She looked down at her plate for a moment, then met Do's eyes. Earth nearly destroyed itself twice before we united. First with nuclear weapons, then with biological warfare. Perhaps that's why we advanced so quickly in space. We know the cost of division. Your people fought each other. Do seemed surprised. Fiercely, for centuries, over resources, beliefs, territories. It wasn't until we faced extinction that we learned to work together. She paused. That's why we search for those lost colonies so desperately. They're part of us. Family we lost contact with. Do nodded slowly. I will share this with the Council. It may help them understand. Unknown to both Captain Yun and Ambassador Do, another meeting was taking place deep within an Alliance space station. Vice Admiral Ho sat with representatives from 4 Alliance species, all from the faction that feared human intentions. Their technology gives them too much power, Vice Admiral Ho said quietly. The Council is blinded by gratitude after Starpoint, but what happens when the humans make demands? When they find these lost colonies they claim to seek? What do you suggest? Asked Commander Pak, whose desert world had the richest mineral deposits in Alliance space. Ho leaned forward. A simple plan. We stage an attack on an Alliance outpost near the border. We make it look like human weapons were used. The Council will have no choice but to unify against this new threat. And if investigation reveals the truth? Asked another representative. By then it won't matter. The humans will have responded to our accusations with anger. Tensions will escalate. Ho's eyes narrowed. The Alliance must stand together, or we risk becoming human subjects. 4 heads nodded in agreement. The plan was set. Later that evening, as Captain Yun returned to her ship after saying goodbye to Ambassador Do, Security Chief Minho met her at the airlock. His face showed concern. Captain, we need to talk privately, he said quietly. In her office, Minho displayed information gathered by human intelligence operatives. Our team intercepted communications between Vice Admiral Ho and several counselors. They're planning something against us. Captain Yun studied the data. They fear us that much. There's more, Minho continued, his voice growing more serious. Our deep space probes have detected unusual movement in the sector the Alliance calls the Dark Zone. The Scourge are gathering ships. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. Captain Ilm stood and walked to the viewport. She could see the Alliance station in the distance, its lights twinkling against the darkness of space. So we face enemies on 2 fronts, she said quietly. Those who plot against us from within the Alliance, and the Scourge preparing for a massive attack. What are your orders, Captain? Minho asked. Captain Yun turned back to him, her face resolute. Alert our fleet. The other human ships need to know what's coming. And find me everything we have on Vice Admiral Ho. If he's planning to frame us, we need to be ready. And the Scourge. They're planning something bigger than we've seen. We need to warn the Alliance, even those who don't trust us. She paused. The question is, will they believe us? The sky above the Alliance capital world turned black, not with night, but with ships. Thousands of Scourge vessels appeared suddenly, blocking the stars. The massive swarm moved with one mind, one purpose, to destroy. On the planet below, millions of people looked up in terror. The attack had come without warning. The largest Scourge fleet ever seen had bypassed outer defenses by using an unknown jump point. In orbit, Admiral Ta stared at his tactical display in horror. The situation was impossible. Most Alliance ships were still responding to Vice Admiral Ho's false emergency call that had scattered the fleet. Only 37 vessels protected the capital. All vessels, defensive positions. Admiral Ta ordered, his voice steady despite his fear. But he could see something equally troubling on his screens. 5 Alliance cruisers were turning their weapons toward the UES Indomitable, following Vice Admiral Ho's secret orders. The human battleship hung in space between the Alliance fleet and the approaching Scourge armada. Captain Yun stood on her bridge, watching both threats with calm eyes. "Captain, Alliance vessels are targeting our engines and weapons systems," reported Security Chief Minho. "And the Scourge will be in firing range in 3 minutes," added First Officer Kang. Captain Yun made her decision quickly. It would change history forever. "All hands, battle stations. Position us between the capital and the Scourge fleet. Priority is protecting Alliance civilians." "Captain." First Officer Kang looked surprised. "We're being targeted by Alliance ships." "They're confused and afraid," Captain Yun said firmly. "We're not. Shields to maximum. Move us into position." The massive human battleship moved forward, placing itself directly in the path of the oncoming Scourge fleet. The Alliance ships targeting the Indomitable hesitated, uncertain what to do as the human vessel positioned itself to protect the planet. The first wave of Scourge fighters crashed against the Indomitable's shields like a storm. Dozens of strange, organic-looking ships fired biological weapons that ate through metal and circuitry. The human vessel shuddered under the assault. "Captain, we're taking heavy damage," reported First Officer Kang as warning lights flashed across his console. "Shield generators 3 and 4 are failing." "Hold position," Captain Yun commanded, gripping the arms of her chair as the ship shook again. "And open a channel to all Alliance vessels." The communications officer worked quickly. "Channel open, Captain. You're broadcasting to every Alliance ship in the system." Captain Yun stood, her voice clear and strong despite the chaos around her. "Alliance vessels, this is Captain Yun of the UES Indomitable. We can fight each other later. Right now, we fight together or die separately. The Scourge don't care about our differences. They'll destroy us all if we don't stand united." For several tense seconds, nothing happened. The Indomitable continued to absorb devastating hits from the Scourge. Then, one by one, Alliance ships began to turn. They moved away from the human vessel and oriented their weapons toward the real enemy. "This is Admiral Ta," came the response. "All Alliance vessels, engage the Scourge. Protect the human ship. They're defending our world while we wasted time with suspicion." The battle that followed lasted 3 days. The Scourge attacked relentlessly, but the combined forces of humans and the Alliance held them back. When 2 more human battleships arrived on the 2nd day, the tide began to turn. Captain Yun barely left the bridge during the entire battle. She coordinated with Admiral Ta, combining human offensive tactics with Alliance knowledge of Scourge behavior patterns. Together, they found weaknesses the Alliance had never exploited before. By the 3rd day, the Scourge began to retreat. Their losses were too great to continue. For the first time in their long war with the Alliance, they had been truly defeated. As the last enemy ships disappeared into deep space, the exhausted crews of both fleets celebrated. But there was one final matter to address. Vice Admiral Ho was brought to the Alliance Council chamber in restraints, his conspiracy exposed by evidence Security Chief Minho had provided. "You would have started a war with our saviors," Council Leader Hyun said coldly. "Your actions endangered every being in Alliance space." Ho had no answer. His fear of humans had blinded him to the greater threat. 1 week later, Captain Yun stood in the same chamber, but under very different circumstances. She watched as Admiral Ta signed his name to a document, the first human Alliance Concordat. Then she stepped forward and added her own signature. The agreement was simple but powerful. Humans and the Alliance would share technology, coordinate defenses, and work together to find the lost human colonies. It was the start of a new era for both civilizations. After the ceremony, Captain Yun stood with Admiral Ta by a large viewport overlooking the capital city. The damage from the battle was still visible in some areas, but repairs were underway. "This is just the beginning," Captain Yun said, looking out at the stars beyond the planet. "There are more threats out there, but also more friends to find." Admiral Ta nodded slowly. "And perhaps more humans, too." Captain Yun smiled. "More than you can imagine. When our other ships arrive, we'll start searching for those lost colonies. Some may even be living among your people without knowing their heritage. Then we will help you find them, Ta promised. And together, we'll make sure the scourge never threaten either of our peoples again. As night fell on the Alliance capital, its people looked up at the stars with new hope. For the first time in generations, they weren't alone against the darkness.